Right, so I thought I was filming this. So looking at my phone over here that I'm recording in for YouTube. Hi everybody, Adrian Nelson here, professional psychic. I am speaking about Thoth Tarot. Alright, so I'm doing a live on Facebook, which I'm doing over here. I predominantly do my lives on Facebook. So Facebook, I'm talking to YouTube. YouTube, I'm talking to Facebook. But I'm going to keep my focus here. I'm just recording this to make a video on Facebook, but my attention is going to be here, so you're going to get like the side view of me. I'm speaking of my journey in Thoth Tarot, and you know how that is been and come about and everything. And Thoth Tarot, honestly, seriously, Thoth will change your life. I've been at the tarot journey for about 20 years, just over 20 years actually. You know, that's a good 2 decades plus. And I thought, I really thought that I knew all there is to know. Thoth humbled me. Thoth humbled me. Thoth made me realize that I don't really know that much. Hey, Susan. Thoth is incredible because, you know, Thoth is very sort of, if I dare to call it that, it is the truer sort of tarot. But you must remember, when Rider-Waite came out, 1909, 1910, it was revolutionary for its time. And a lot of the things that, you know, that Thoth then, many years later, went into, really delve deeply into. Pamela Coleman and, Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Edward Waite, they couldn't dare. I mean, this was a very daring thing because, something, let me just quickly actually, before I get into Thoth itself, let me actually just, clear some air over here because there's things about Thoth that people don't know. And there are things that people are throwing around that they just don't know. So, first of all, Arthur Edward Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith. So Arthur Edward Waite was the dude that is basically responsible for Rider-Waite Tarot, as well as Pamela Coleman Smith. I did not switch off my data on my phone where I'm recording. I'm sorry. Just need to do that quickly so I don't get like a call or something while I'm doing that. All right. This is a very impromptu thing. I just finished reading the Kabbalion. I'm going to talk about that now. And so, sorry, I just felt very inspired. We're talking a lot today. To just do this, to just share with you. And really just in an attempt to enrich your life. So I'm not drawing cards or anything like this. I'm just sharing this because hopefully it helps some of you that have been wondering. So, Arthur Edward Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith, who was the artist who drew the cards for the Rider-Waite Tarot, as well as Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris, who was, Lady Frida Harris was the painter of the Thoth deck. And Aleister Crowley was the dude that you can basically say who commissioned it, so to speak, even though he was almost sort of forced into it. It's really like I see a lot of these things where people's like, he was so full of himself, so he decided to do it. He had no interest in doing it. But anyway, so all of these people, except for Lady Frida Harris, who was the painter of the Thoth Tarot, incredible artist, these cards were painted, so were these. These people were exceptional. They belonged to the occult. Hey, my beautiful people. This is why I love to do lives on Facebook. Everybody always says hi. And for you on YouTube that is watching this, join me on Facebook because I've got the most beautiful community over here. So these people all belong to the occult. So when you belong to the occult, or sort of like the Golden Dawn, what happens is you learn all these occult practices. So you learn about alchemy and astronomy and astrology and sacred geometry and all of these sort of things, sort of like hermetic sort of teaching, coaching sort of things. And they were not really supposed to tell these things to other people. This is very inside information. This is why it was a real problem when this deck came out. It was not as smooth sailing as everybody think it was. And I think that Aleister Crowley with the Thoth deck took a lot of heat off, Arthur Edward Waite and those dudes. But it's not the first tarot deck that came out in the world either. There was the Marseille before that, and there were some others as well. But part of when you start in the occult, depending on how far you're into it, you draw your own tarot deck, according to very specific outlines with the color, with the shapes, with the symbols and all those things, because there is a lot inside of tarot. Tarot is not just it's not just a couple of cards, you draw them out, you're like, I feel this and I feel that, and there you go. No, 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 no. It is literally information hidden in plain sight. Because remember, in the Western side of the world, there are those who wanted to oppress the information and they wanted to like get rid of it, and so tarot in essence, especially with Rider-Waite tarot, it is literally information that's hidden in plain sight in front of you. So I've been studying tarot, I've been teaching tarot, I've been really into tarot. Like for those of you that know me, I'm probably known as a tarot guy. I'm into tarot, I love my tarot. But, when you just think you got it all, in comes thought. Thought is almost like that sort of, when the student is ready, the teacher appears type of thing. Thought. And it didn't even start just like that. There was a sense of dissatisfaction inside me. Like I was doing tarot, I got to a point where I was feeling like, oh, I want to do some more. I've done my my very, very detailed tarot reading course that I put out. I put a link for it in the description. It's still one of, I'm so proud to say for almost 2 years, it remains one of the best sellers, the top sellers with the best sort of reviews from students on Udemy. It's still one of my best sellers. In many ways, it's my bread and my butter. So to anybody who purchased it, I really appreciate it. As well as the other ones. I've got an advanced tarot reading course out now. And I've also got like a beautiful 40 days journey out. So it's beautiful. I feel so blessed. When I learn, I like to teach. And the reason why I think I love teaching so much is because by teaching, I remind myself and I reach deeper insights within myself. But for me, teaching is not just about making money. It is about sharing the information. And the way that I normally come about doing a course is I would say to myself, okay, because I share, for those of you that follow my lives, you would know I share a lot on my lives. In my weekly YouTube readings, I give a lot of information. I like to share information. But, certain concepts, in order for them to sort of like, be coherent, to make sense, they need to be sort of like in sequence. They need to be put together. And that's normally when I put a course together, when I'm like, okay, what is the best way for me to share? And for me, it's through teaching. I love teaching. And so where do I start? Okay, so first of all, with thought, I'm not going to go into the cards too much but I just want to show you just some of the cards, even on the back of the cards. Everything is so symbolic. That's what I love about these cards. Every single thing, every stroke, every color, everything is so symbolic. So with the original Rider-Waite tarot, I think they still had to be a little bit careful. And you know what I find so amazing and so fascinating, and I love it so much? The more you study, especially Thoth tarot, the more you get to see. It's like a sense of oneness that you get. It unites everything. It unites all the different religions and the traditions and, the different parts of Christianity and Islam and even parts of Judaism. It really brings everything together, and it shows to you how, I would really say practically all religions and all these traditional practices and like paganism, like predominantly, and all these things, they are all sort of like attempts at describing in many ways the same thing, to relate to the same thing, to make sense of the same thing. It's all about that essence that somehow is there, that creator essence. And it's wonderful for me because it really bridges that gap between spirituality and religion. And, it's wonderful for me because it gives me a greater understanding as well, which helps me to, if I do maybe get those instances, I don't really get them that often, but if I do get those instances where, people might be maybe speaking about, religion versus spirituality, that sort of thing, I can say to them, no, let me actually tell you this, and actually tell you this. And it took me in all these different directions, so I've been on the journey of Thoth Tarot. I'm just going to show you a couple of cards as I speak. So I've been on the journey of Thoth Tarot for about a year now. And in that year, let me tell you, it has been one of the most formative years of my life. So I've always been studying. I am a lifelong student. I know for a fact we never know everything. And I think that is the beautiful thing about tarot. It is really this journey of exploration, of discovering yourself, of learning more about yourself, of learning more about life, of learning more about so many, many things. You know, it's even like, for example, when I was in school, I remember that, you know, the teachers wanted to sort of like teach us mathematics, and I was like, well, why? And they could never really tell me. And now I understand that mathematics is a language, and it's a very intricate language. And if you understand the language, and you don't have to try to understand all these formulas that, you know, for sometimes you feel you have to learn for no reason, because it makes perfect sense. It's amazing. I'm talking about the most advanced sort of mathematics. It makes the most logical sense. It is so simple. You're like, oh, so this is why it's happening. There's one, I've got a couple of books here that I want to show to you, that I want to recommend to you. There's just one. Okay, can you all excuse me just a minute? There's one more that I want to get, please. Bruno, my Bruno, where did I put that book, my bro? Bubble. I don't know. Is it maybe? Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. All right. Okay, my people. I wanted to get some books on crystal healing as well, but I thought, okay, let me not overwhelm you too much. All right. So, I would say, okay, for starters, if you just start in tarot and you want a real book, I just want to make sure it's on both screens. There's a bit of a ring light here because the light on top is not the strongest, and it's quite late at night. But if you really want to start in tarot, this is a good book to start with. It's normally hardcover. I know it was out of print for a while, but then one of my students actually ordered one off Amazon. It was in the US, so I don't know if it's just available in the US or if it's in the rest of the world. But it's called The Tarot by Sylvie Simon. It actually gives a surprise amount of information that is not always that easily attainable, and it's very well researched. Very well versed. It's a very good book. So for any of you that maybe start in just general tarot, you want to have understanding of tarot, this is a very good book to start with. So to let you know, so when we look at tarot, and especially when you get into Thoth, it's about astrology, astronomy, mathematics, the Kabbalah, which is obviously, with the tree of life. It's about sacred geometry. So I just want to show you a couple of books that if you want to start in this, books that were very helpful to me. Now, I love books. I love books. I'm a bookworm. My sisters always make fun of me, especially the one who was in high school with me when I was in the hostel. She would say that when you see Adrian, I normally had all these books under my arms. I love books. I always say to people that if I go missing in a mall and you don't know where to find me, I'm most likely going to be in the bookstore. So I want to show you a couple of books. I would say the three basic ones that you need if you're going to start in Thoth Tarot, and this can be where you can start your journey. All right. So the one is called The Book of Thoth, and this one was written by Aleister Crowley. So what happened is, people really wanted Aleister Crowley to put out a tarot deck, and Aleister Crowley was quite a dude. He was quite a character. He couldn't be less interested. He was like, oh, whatever. But then, when he did something, if there's one thing that you can say for Aleister Crowley, is that when he did something, he really committed to them. Look at my dog. Hey, Bruno. I don't know if you can see it on Facebook. No, you can't. So he actually wrote the Book of Thoth, or Thoth. And Thoth is the Egyptian god of wisdom and knowledge. All right. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So, when we look at tarot, it is really a pictorial depiction of the Kabbalistic tree of life as per the Kabbalah. Now, when you look at the Kabbalah, people normally say that the Kabbalah is a Jewish thing. but it's not really. It's taught by the Jews, and it's normally information that, well, in ancient times, more ancient times, and it was sort of like more preserved by the Jews, but it's not really a Jewish thing per se. All right. And in actual fact, when you even look at back into it, there's links to the tree of life, for example, that it might even come something from the I Ching, which is completely different thing, which is also something that I've been studying for quite some time now. It's so fascinating. And I think for me, I wanted to know more about tarot because tarot is about life, and I like life, and I'm interested in people, and that sort of things. And so I even went in direction of the Nordic runes, and that is actually when I started with to branch out from from tarot, because oracle decks are great and you get fantastic ones out there, but just calling a spade, a lot of oracle decks are very wishy-washy and very watered down. So I was like, can't really be bothered. You can really tell with oracle decks who are the people that are really well versed in a lot of these things that I'm explaining to you, because you can see in the quality of the stuff that they do. But anyway, so Thoth was known as the ancient Egyptian god of knowledge. Another name for Thoth was also Hermes Trismegistus, who is then, when you look at Hermes, you look at Hermetics, which is entirely different, but it's also really, really incredible and really, really fascinating. And I do start to go a little bit into that in my 40 days sacred tarot journey, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journey. That I wanted to find something to simplify tarot, and I share some cards that I designed myself because we sometimes overcomplicate things. But anyway, so Aleister Crowley wrote this whole book as a manual for Lady Frida Harris to paint these cards, because she did not understand the occult. She wasn't a student of the occult, so she didn't have that sort of foundational knowledge of it. Now, this book is supposed to be, or it is really, it's a very powerful manual for Thoth Tarot itself. I've read this book like 3 times. I'm halfway through it now again for a 4th time. Every time you read it, you get something new from it. It's amazing because your mind keeps on expanding. But I remember when I first read it, it was totally blown away, but I think I got literally, I kid you not even the first 10 pages. I had to put it down. I couldn't pick it up for like another 2 months. And because for the simple reason, you get so much information that you are presented with. You literally just need some time to be able to congest that information. Because where with original Rider-Waite tarot, where that was, I would say, almost like a cautious approach to tarot, not Thoth. Thoth was like all in, as much as you can be all in. So Book of Thoth is a good one for you to get if you want to get into Thoth tarot. But as amazing as that book is, it may not make sense to you initially when you read it. If you're new to it, it's like gibberish. It's fascinating gibberish, but it's gibberish nonetheless. So I would say a good one to go with is by Lon Miller Duquette, Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. This is a really exceptional book. I remember I got this book first. I wanted to buy the Book of Thoth. It wasn't available. I bought it online, so I bought this one. And I'm so glad that I did. I would actually recommend that you read this one first. I read this whole book in small print. It is, I'm in South Africa, so I got it in South Africa from a company called Take A Lot, which is sort of like similar to Amazon in some ways, smaller version of it. So it's got 312 pages in small print. I read the whole thing from beginning to end, and when I was done, I turned it around and I read it again. And that really helped me to understand the Book of Thoth. If I didn't read this one first, this would not have made sense to me and I would have probably given up. And then if you want sort of like descriptions of the cards, you can get yourself keywords for the Crowley Tarot by, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Hajo Bansaf and Bridget Teller. So this is not really so much of a training manual. This is more to try and wrap your mind around the understanding of the cards. But it's wonderful because it gives you for like a daily message what it warns you against. It gives you the Kabbalistic things in it, the astrological interpretations. So a very good book to get. But the different colors, what they mean. And then I got the vision and the voice, which is, it's also quite a deep study, this one. I got this one from a friend of mine, actually. So I wouldn't, if you get it, it's amazing, but it's not sort of like the first thing that I would go for if I do get a Thoth tarot that I want to go into. So then I just want to share with you some other books that I think might be helpful for you if you want to get some. And I'm just going to run through them all. All right. So the Kabbalion, definitely. But I would say again, the Kabbalion is one that you may not want to start with it because, again, incredible manual for successful living, but could be quite a lot initially. All right. Actually, interesting enough, before I started my sort of tarot journey, when I was in school, I had this amazing friend that taught me basic palmistry, and I was so good at it, but it freaked me out. And then somehow it's calling me back again, and I found this amazing book at a second-hand store of a friend of mine, which seems like such a little booklet, but it is so detailed, it's so incredible. It's called Palmistry by Geddes and Grossite. It is a very good investment for its size. It's real dynamite. It's really, really good. And then a couple of other books that I want to recommend for you. For Sacred Geometry, this one is by Gemma Foster. This is a really, really good book. To get into astrology. So the thing to remember with tarot is that it is, I can almost say that it's I don't really want to call it a smokescreen, but it represents a lot. All right. It's not just a card. So a lot of times people will say, well, you know, when you've done tarot for a while, you kind of know it all. And like, tarot is life. You are never, no matter how much I've been studying so much, I've been reading so many books, I've taken many sort of like coaching things and stuff like that, you know, apart from presenting it, like studying myself, you're never fully going to get it because you're never fully going to get life. You're never fully going to get creation. And that's the beauty of it. You are this master and a lifelong student, which I love. All right, it really keeps me on my toes. So if you want to get into astrology, maybe a good one to start with is Linda Goodman's Sun Signs. So a lot of these books, I mean, I think some are in print, some are out of print. A lot of these things I get from second-hand stores. Friends pass them along to me. I'm very, very fortunate in that sense. I'm a real collector of books and knowledge. I'm one of those people, if my house is burning, I'm going to grab my books first. I'm going to grab my dog and I'm going to grab my books, you know. So Linda Goodman's Sun Sign is a good one. There's astrology. I don't really know who the author of this is. It just says it's printed by Thoth Books. But I found this one of those golden nuggets that I found as well. And it really very nicely sort of like explain things. Again, small little book that you sort of like think, oh, well, lots of little golden nuggets in there. If you really want to get deeper into astrology, Astrology of Cosmic Science by Isabel M. Hickey, which is, of course, an astrologer she has been revolutionary for what astrology is, at least in the West today. Another one which is amazing is by Alan Okus, Complete Astrology. I love this book. This is a very deep read, but in many ways very, very, I would say upper level, but really, really amazing. Really, really golden book. If you want to get a little bit deeper into especially the houses, Parker's Astrology by Julia and Derek Parker. Now, this is in some ways, I would say that if you can't sort of enroll in professional astrology teaching and you want to start in the journey and you want to have a good foundation, this is a good one to start with. I do find that some of the broader descriptions are a little bit, chop, they can go a little bit more into it, but then if you maybe read these volumes, then, it gives you the rest that you need. And then quite an interesting read with that as well is what one of my friends gave me, a client who became a friend, Person-Centered Astrology by Dane Rider. I think that is the right word, the right way to pronounce it. Also quite a nice one. It gives you a different sort of like perception around it. And then some other books that I can just recommend that will also be quite helpful on your journey. If you haven't read them yet, they might be quite great, is The Placebo Effect by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That light is shining quite brightly on this. So The Placebo Effect by Dr. John Dispenza. Lillian Tu, Irresistible Feng Shui Magic. I've got a couple of books by Lillian Tu. She is really, anything by Lillian Tu. She writes a lot about Feng Shui. Really, really good material. And And I think this is one of those golden nuggets in life that is absolutely fantastic as well. The Secret Language of Your Body by Ines Segal. All right. So these are just some very good reading materials that if you do want to get into the thought journey that you can start with. If I have to say, if you really just start the journey and maybe you're like a little bit on a budget, let me show you then a couple of books that I think might be very good ones for you to start with. Don't even start with the Kabbalion yet. All right, so I would say that if you just start and you are like a little bit on a budget, these are the books that you want to get for yourself. All right, so Sacred Geometry by Jenna Foster, Astrology or Cosmic Science by Isabel M. Hickey, and then Understanding the Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Daquet, as well as the Book of Thoth. And even if you have to choose between these two, then I will say start with this one. Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Daquet. That is, I think if you can only start with one book, this is the one that you want to start with. All right, and with Thoth itself, the cards are incredibly detailed. So I first had a pocket-sized deck, which I then passed on to someone else, and it was beautiful. I got it first, and then I got the bigger cards. And I'm actually going to say to you for the details that you see, because every single brushstroke, everything in the Thoth deck, every last thing symbolizes something. It was exceptional about it. So if you can get the bigger cards, if it works for you, like I've got bigger hands, but maybe if your hands are small, you can maybe get a more regular size one, but I really like the bigger cards. You can obviously always shuffle them sideways or do this kind of shuffling type of thing. I can't remember what you call it. I call it the Las Vegas shuffling. But yeah, there's just some things that I want to share with you. I hope that it helps. I will obviously make more detailed videos about all the other sort of things. Oh yeah, and oh yeah, sorry. So if you want to also, an excellent book for the Kabbalah is Understanding the Kabbalah, or the Kabbalah, however you say it, Understanding the Kabbalah by Edward Albertson. This is another one of those absolute golden nuggets that I also found, in a second-hand store. I love second-hand store. I love thrift shops. You find all these magical things over there. So I hope that it helps. And yeah, keep on learning. Keep on shining. May the rest of your life be the best of your life. Bye, my beautiful people. So that's the end of the Facebook broadcast. Let's just quickly put that in over there. All right. And to you, my beautiful people, thank you so much for joining me. Bruno's jumping off. I think he is like, it's sleepy time now. It most definitely is. From my heart, namaste, love and light.